all for joining us this morning. This is Chris Hislop from the Montana World Affairs Council. It's great to see you all across Montana. Before I introduce our guest for today's GeoQuest event, I'd like to thank the Council in the Classroom and GeoQuest sponsors, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, Qatar Foundation International, Allegiance, BNSF Railway Foundation, First Security Bank, Humanities Montana, and Trail West Bank. They help us make these and other programs come to you. Today's guest, Oliver Schramm, has served as a German Consul General in San Francisco since August 2021. Oliver was born in Hamburg and is half Italian. He's married with 3 teenage boys and trained as an economist. In 1991, he entered the German Foreign Service, the first crew of a newly unified East and West Germany. Other than serving in Bonn and Berlin, he also wrote speeches under Chancellor Helmut Kohl. In the past 30 years, he's served in many locations around the world, including Seoul, Washington, D.C., Rome, Lima, and most recently as minister and head of the economics department in London, therefore very familiar with all issues relating to Brexit. Oliver lived extensively in the U.S., first as an exchange student in Memphis, Tennessee. In 2002, he obtained his MPA from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, and then served as deputy press officer at the German embassy in Washington, D.C. He's familiar with the U.S. West Coast from trips to Oregon, Seattle, and Hawaii. However, the San Francisco Bay Area is entirely new to him, and he's thrilled to explore the Golden State. Among his favorite pastimes are running, reading, meditation, and spending time with his kids. Being half Italian and a bit of a foodie, he's eager to explore the culinary specialties of California, as well as the great wines from Napa, Sonoma, and beyond. And you should all know that before we came on, we gave the Consul General an invitation to come to Montana to visit us as well. So we hope you do so. Very nice to have you here, Mr. Schramm. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for the kind and a nice introduction. You mentioned me being a foodie. Of course, that gets me immediately to the long-standing beer tradition you guys have in Montana. And that's certainly another hook that will hopefully get me soon to visit your beautiful state, the state of treasures. And I'd be glad to come. I wouldn't even say as soon as the snow melts, but anytime my schedule permits. Well, good morning, everyone. Or as we say in good German, guten Morgen. Or if we say in my, what we say in my northern German home, moin moin, which is coming from a Frisian dialect, meaning have a good one. I'm glad to be in touch, to get in touch with Montana for the first time since my arrival in San Francisco, which was end of August. I've come, as Chris mentioned, from London, and certainly San Francisco and the Bay Area, as you said, is something that I still have to explore and to discover. But this is not the only state my consulate general is looking after, so to speak. So we have a different number of states, our neighbor states, Oregon and Washington State, but also the mountain states, to visit and to see how German-American relations evolve there. In some states we have honorary consuls, in other ones not, we don't have them. So another reason to come and visit. Chris mentioned that I have come with my family. My 3 sons, they attend a German international school in Silicon Valley, middle school, and 2 in middle school, 1 in high school, and they would have loved also to be with me today. They were looking forward to looking over my shoulder, but alas, they couldn't be there. I wanted to thank the Montana World Affairs Council and also the Washington Foundation. I wanted to thank the schools that participate in that program, and also the teachers that have probably prepared or have organized this get together this morning. And I cherish the occasion to speak a little bit about Germany, about my profession, and about things that are very similar with regards or between Montana and Germany, and that are quite different when it comes to comparisons. Chris already mentioned my several postings. Maybe just a little word on my position as Consul General in San Francisco. Of course, you have all heard that foreign countries have or entertain embassies in the capitals of each country. And of course, we do too. Germany has a big embassy. I think it's the biggest, the largest we have worldwide in Washington, D.C. But as the US is such a big country, it's 27 times Germany, really. And I think it's twice the size of Europe. Of course, that's a vast area which you have to look after, or a vast area where you have so many different relationships and interests to look after, that we have founded a network of consulate generals all over the US. We have 9 all in all. And on the West Coast, we have Los Angeles and San Francisco. We have Houston and Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, Miami, and a number of honorary consulates and other ones. So that is a work we share amongst colleagues. We meet once a year in a big conference, also with our honorary consuls, to see how we can foster and how we can support our relationship. Germany and the US are intertwined in so many aspects, culturally, economically, and also very much politically since many years. And of course, all these new initiatives you might have heard about, the climate change conference that is going on. Germany and the US have agreed on a climate partnership quite recently. So there's lots to talk and many reasons to meet and to travel. And hopefully, as of November 8th, also the travel restrictions will be lifted, so Americans and Germans can travel freely and easily between our two countries. Maybe just a little word on a comparative scale. I already mentioned the US being 27 times Germany. I think between Germany and Montana, size-wise, we're evenly split. I think Montana is a little bit bigger as an area than Germany is, but then again, in terms of population, there's a big gap or difference with 83 million residing in Germany, people living in Germany, and a little less in Montana. Germany is a country, and you might have taken a look before this conference at the map, right at the heart, in the middle of Europe. I think we're the country with the most neighbors in Europe. We have 9 neighbors all in all, ranging from Denmark all the way around Germany to the Netherlands. And we are a country that thrives and lives of its relationships, be it in trade, but also in many cultural aspects, school exchanges, city partnerships. I learned yesterday that Missoula has a city partnership with a German city, Neckargmünd, in the southwest of Germany. So this is something that kind of also is a reality in Germany, that we're surrounded by neighbors. We have many foreigners, many migrants, refugees recently from Syria and other places that have come to Germany. And Germany has changed in the last 20 years, I would say, since its unification in 91, to become a country of immigration, which we all are very glad for, because Germany has an aging population, and every youngster, every young family that decides to come and live in Germany is most welcome, and is certainly making Germany a more diverse, a more colorful country overall. Maybe a little word on how Germany is structured before I talk about the landscape. We are a federation, very much like the US. We are constituted of 16 so-called Länder, ranging from Schleswig-Holstein in the far north, bordering with Denmark, down to Bavaria. Those Länder have pretty much a similar political clout or power than the US states do have. So in terms of internal security, policing, education, higher education, culture, and local government, They are quite autonomous, and this also adds a little bit to the diversity within Germany, also when it comes to schooling and school reality. Our most populous land is North Rhine-Westphalia, which is on the very west of Germany, with cities like Cologne and Düsseldorf. 18 million, roughly a quarter of the German population live there. And the largest, measured by area, is the largest land is Bavaria. I think only 20% of Montana's size, but the largest in Germany. The largest cities, no surprise, range from Berlin, 3.6 million, to Hamburg, my hometown, almost 2 million, Munich, 1.5, and Cologne, 1.1. I've already mentioned some of the cities, the Länder, maybe speaking of some of the landscapes that you'll find if you come and visit Germany. Germany is probably, you might find out visiting, not a country which is blessed with so much wildlife and pristine nature as is Montana, but certainly it has a very wide range of different landscapes. So from the very north, Schleswig-Holstein, that is a land with two coasts, one to the North Sea, leaning towards Britain, and bordering with Denmark and the Netherlands, and the Baltic Sea, looking onto our Scandinavian neighbors, with again Denmark and Sweden, and the Baltics. So quite a unique landscape. Much of the western coast is a natural reserve, a national park, very pristine. Many birds stop over on their way to the Arctic or back. Then you have the areas in the west and southwest where big rivers are forming deep valleys, which are great for winemaking. So the Rhine area and the Main and the Mosel, with cities like Cologne, Heidelberg, with a famous university and a very romantic downtown. Many medieval castles along the rivers make for very scenic trips, be it on the river or alongside the river, with a lot of bicycle paths. Germany is very famous for his bicycle lanes all over the place, so you can explore and see a lot of it just by riding on a bike. Munich, of course, is world famous for its Oktoberfest, but also known for its famous beer and its soccer club. Of course, you can't be in Munich and not talk about Bayern Munich. And the southeast of Germany has a fair share of the Alp Mountains, with the highest peak in Germany around 3,000 meters high. That would be something like 9,000 feet, which is of course dwarf size if you compare it to the peaks that you'll find in Montana, but still a beautiful scenery with the romantic castle Neuschwanstein and other places make for a great visit. Berlin, of course, is the most popular destination for visitors, with many different aspects. It's a very lively cultural scene, a lot of music, rap scene, and gaming is going on there. There are a lot of startups from all over the world startup people coming to Berlin, and it's a very international hub. You'll probably hear more English spoken at the center of Berlin than in any other city in Germany. Quite a fascinating spot. It's two different parts of the city growing together. The east part of Berlin that belonged to East Germany up until 1990, and of course the western part, having been an island, is now discovering and exploring its surrounding areas in the land of Brandenburg, etc. And of course Hamburg, I cannot speak not about Hamburg. My hometown is a very vibrant, is the biggest port city in Germany, with a lot of international connections. The big container port, the second largest in Europe after Rotterdam, and a very beautiful scenery with big lakes at the center and parks. And it has more bridges and canals than Venice does. So you could see it's a very mixed. It's a very diverse landscape, and it always warrants a visit. Plus, you have the extra advantage that, as I said, Germany is so centrally located in Europe. You can easily make a trip to Amsterdam, to Brussels, or to places in Austria or France, right across the border, which is really a nice extra, I think.
Great.
Speaking a little bit about our economic cloud, Germany is the largest economy in Europe. It is number 4 in the world after the US, China, and Japan, and at the moment ranked as number 3 as an exporter, but it also is a great importer. And 1 in 4 jobs in Germany depend on what we produce and then export to foreign countries. We are at the moment the European champion innovation, 27,000 new patents in 2019 alone. And we spend more than the world average in research and development, more than 3% of our GDP. Having said that, Germany has boasts a very diverse and world-leading university scene. Many universities and colleges are making Germany the most popular destination among the non-English speaking countries in the world. We have almost 400,000 foreign students every year studying in Germany out of 3 million. That's quite a great share, 400 universities and colleges. And their study programs, there are thousands of study programs held in English. So that's another feature that has changed over the past decades and made Germany a very popular destination. Plus, it's quite cheap. It's compared to other destinations in Europe or worldwide. It's easy and it's cheap to enroll in a German university or college and take up your studies. Yeah, maybe a little word about schools and everyday school life in Germany. I think our school system is quite similar to yours. It's if you combine it with high school, it's 12. It means 12 years. We don't count pre-K or kindergarten as elementary, so we start at the age of 6 in elementary school, which is usually 4 years, 6 years in middle school, and then 2 years in high school. Visiting school is compulsory up until the age of 16. And in Germany, we have the system of vocational training, dual vocational training, which is quite unique worldwide. That is that you are being hired as a trainee by a company, and you do a mixed program. You study at a vocational academy, be it either 1 day a week or in blocks of 6 weeks. And after 2 or 3 years, you get a certificate which shows that you have mastered your craft, things that you've learned. And with this Meisterbrief or master certificate, you can come up and start a business of your own. And it's a very reputed and very much recognized title, which certainly also with a push of many youngsters to go to university or start a job in banking or in tech. This is something that young people should consider picking up, because we have less and less of those masters and craftsmen in Germany, and you can make good money of it. Our school, as Chris mentioned, I visited a high school in the US, in Memphis, Tennessee, way back in the early 80s. Proud to be a Warrior, Memphis Central High. It's quite a different experience, and I would maybe point at 2 points that kind of are different between Germany and the US. I think your system is much more trying and succeeding, I think, to create like a common spirit of each and every school. You have a lot of after-school activities, clubs, sport plays an important role. I remember the first time I attended a pep rally at the high school, at firing up the football team of the high school. That is something that we don't have in Germany. So students have a much more reduced schedule in that sense. So there's rarely afternoon school, but there's also these activities, which I like very much in the US. And I think some of the elements that we find here should be considered and transmitting them to the German school system. You won't find in Germany. Instead, many youngsters in Germany go and play sports in the afternoon. Of course, the most popular sport in Germany with youngsters is soccer, Fußball, as we say. Handball is played in many, especially in the countryside, many villages and smaller towns, very popular, and basketball as well. Although we Germans will never reach the level that the NBA players are showing. Although we are sending some talent over to the US. Of course, Dirk Nowitzki was quite famous and known, Chris Welp, and now we have Dennis Schröder with the Celtics, and some other players. But soccer is the overarching sports, and American sports like American football and baseball, they exist. The bigger cities have their teams as well. They play in the league of their own, but it's not too prominent and too much followed. And then, of course, maybe that is a phenomenon that is an international one. Sports are losing out more and more, I think, among youngsters to gaming and to computer games and virtual reality games, even in sports. So nowadays, each professional team also has an EA sports team foreshadowing or after shadowing the matches that the teams have.
Consul General, I wonder if we could pause, because I think we've probably got some questions. You've done such
I wanted to. I've come to the end.
Good.
Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, it's been such a great overview and portrait of Germany, that's given us such a good picture. And I'm sure the students are like soaking that in and are ready for some questions. I'm going to start with Miss Oberweiser's class, since they have been listening, and let's try hearing you without the echo.
I think I have it fixed. Is that going to work?
Oh, I hear it, but that's okay.
All right. That's it.
Do you want to just type your question in, Jody? Maybe. Oh, here we go. Here's a student. Go for it. You're going to have to unmute. Yep.
Okay, talk. Can you see yourself right here?
Yeah. Introduce yourself and let's hear your question.
Hi, I'm Schramm. What kind of cars do you guys have over there?
What kind of cars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do have quite a great and diverse car industry over in Germany. A fun fact on the side is that most of the German built or German brand cars are by now being built in the US and exported from the US on a worldwide base over to China and to Europe. The car industry is kind of like a backbone of German industry. You have brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi. Volkswagen is the biggest car maker in the world, and of course we are now with our cars, which are more located in the price-wise in the upper level. We are now making big efforts. When I say we, I mean the car industry, the German car industry's big efforts to electrify, to come up with e-fleets more and more, because of the dramatic consequences that climate change is already producing, and the political decision to leave fossil fuel driven cars behind by several different deadlines, 2030, some countries say 35, some have already introduced hybrid models, but German cars are still very much in demand. They are quite reliable cars. One brand actually is American, has been American since the 20s, which is Opel, which belongs to General Motors, but is producing cars in Germany as well. But yeah, these are more or less the big brands you might also see on US highways, and certainly it all started. The inroads in the American market started with a little Beetle in the 60s and the Volkswagen buses in the 60s and 70s, and has developed ever since. And our cars may seem smaller when you compare them to some of the mighty big cars you see on US highways, but they're quite cost efficient and they're less consuming. And as I said, they're very reliable, and you can keep them for a long time.
Great. Let's go ahead and go to Bozeman, and we'll just kind of bounce back and forth. Plus, I have some other questions that have come in. So Bozeman, Amy's class, do you have a student or two that would like to ask a question?
Okay, we have a student that wants to say hi, and then do you have a question too? Oh, he has a question.
Hallo, wie geht es dir heute?
Hallo, super, gutes Deutsch, toll.
Dankeschön. Meine Mama ist von Köln, so ja. Aber meine Frage ist, welchen deutsches Essen genießt du am meisten?
Ha. So he's asking what kind of a dish or food I'd like best. I like best from the German cuisine. That's a difficult one, actually. What I miss sometimes when I live abroad, and not only in the US, is the German bread. So German rolls and bread, and some of the yogurts. As Chris mentioned, I'm half Italian, so I don't miss anything in the US because Italians are everywhere. So I'm very, very happy with regard to that. And Germany has very different landscapes, and with it come different dishes also. So in Bavaria, you would find very, very hefty meat-centered dishes and potato balls and rolls, and you would have a lot of bratwurst in different Länder and different regions of Germany. I couldn't say. I mean, funny enough, there's one very popular dish that started in Berlin. It's called the Döner Kebab, which is a Turkish import, and which has become to be like a German dish. It's basically a half-cut bread filled with meat and onions and roasted on a rotating grill. Which is very, very with different sauces, very, very popular. And I like that when I studied at university in Hamburg or lived in Berlin, you grab a bite, you grab a döner. That is something that is also become very, very German.
Thank you. Amy, is there another question from your class?
Oh,
I guess we need a minute.
Okay. And for the teachers, there's a lot of great links that Chris is putting in the chat, and I will send those out to you afterwards. Jody, do you have more questions in your classroom? Oh, yes, they do. They are ready. Just takes them a minute.
So say your name first and then ask your question.
Hi, I'm Austin. What's the driving limit over in Germany?
The speed limit?
Driving, like age. What age you have to be there?
Oh, driving it. Well, that is still at 18. So my oldest son, he's just turned 17. He's now very happy. He's in California, so he can start right away, drive as a learner, and while doing his driver's license, start to learn to drive. But in Germany, you have to be 18 to get a driver's license. You are under parole for 2 years, so no offenses. Otherwise, the license could be retrieved for some time. That was introduced a couple of years back, very strict. I'm glad that didn't happen during my time when I did my driver's license. But maybe from that question, the speed limit has still not been introduced in Germany and will probably not be for foreseeable times. You might have heard that our interstates or highways, the Autobahn, has no speed limit, which is only partly true because there's so many construction sites that there are many areas where you have considerable speed limits, but generally speaking, you have no speed limit. So on a given time, maybe nighttime, or where there's less traffic and there's no limitation, then you could go to 200 and 250. And so far, drivers in Germany have, and majorities in the population have not wanted to introduce speed limits, unlike all of their European neighbors.
Consul General, it might interest you to know that Montana used to be like that on the interstates. There was, it was called reasonable and prudent. And then gas rationing came about, and they put a limit on to conserve energy. But yes, we used to have that also here.
There's a suggested speed limit of 130 kilometers per hour, which would be like, I don't think, 65 miles per hour. But it's only a suggestion. It's not compulsory. And if there's no visible limitation, then you can go full throttle.
Oh, wow.
Which people do.
We have a question that came in from the school who had schedule change, and they were asking what, as you travel around the United States and speak with groups, and you said you lived here as a high school student and so forth, what is the one or two things that always surprise Americans about Germany that they may not have known or maybe had the wrong perception of? What is it that you get asked a lot?
Well, I wouldn't say surprised, because I think Americans are generally very well informed with regard to Europe and Germany. But I would say one thing is that some of the contemporary changes that have taken place in Germany, which I mentioned. So we've seen a big wave of immigration, migrants coming. Germany has turned to be a very modern country in the last 3-4 decades, and is also at the forefront of many technological issues. I mean, we don't have a Silicon Valley, but we certainly have many high-level researchers and a lot of high-level research and technology development going on, be it in the car industry, be it in life science, biotechnology. And that is sometimes to some Americans that comes as a surprise, because sometimes the image that they have of Germany is still very much dictated by some of the traditional imagery. So the Oktoberfest, some of the old fashioned ways or costumes in Germany, and yeah, maybe a country that is not so open. That is sometimes the image we get. So that maybe is a surprise. In some instances, of course, you have some historic remembrances there, and people are not so well aware of what has happened from 1945 on. But then again, you meet many Americans that have actually traveled or have served, be it in the Air Force or in the U.S. Army, and lived for a while in Germany, and they speak excellent German, and they know very well what's going on. I met during my last trip to Alaska, to Anchorage, I met 2-3 people that actually had their careers in the Air Force, and they have a network of friends, and they know a lot about it. And yeah, that I would say is something that is always makes for good and exciting debates.
Thank you. Let's go to Amy's class again to see. I think we'll do one more round of questions and then wrap it up. So Amy, if your students have 1 or 2 more questions, let's take them now.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have like athletic scholarships for like high schoolers going to college for sports?
Yes, we do. Maybe the system is not as widespread because I think sports plays a more prominent role, I think, in U.S. educational institutions, but we do. So we have, especially in with regard to professional athletics, there's one road you can take when you are in the military, or when you are in the customs service. They have special departments and special study programs and scholarships for people that show yeah, a lot of talent and a likelihood that they're going to have a professional successful professional career. But you also do have scholarships in the German universities that once you reach a certain level, then you are entering a different program to get you ready for your Olympic career or for your professional career in certain clubs and societies. That is less the case, I think, in German soccer. There you really have to start very early, and then the club kind of organizes scholarships so you can maybe stay with the team, but also enter university and start studying. But it's more in athletics, as you said. There's also some tennis academies that are connected with universities and schools, but it is a less common and less widespread system. It used to be different up until 1989 in East Germany, which you may have heard of. There was a great kind of early age selection going on, and sports was seen by the regime in East Germany as a means, as an instrument to play an important role or a visible role on the international scene. So, and you had all the difficult developments with it when it came to the use of steroids and other things. But that's been stopped after unification, and now we have these programs that we used to have before in West Germany, and that's the same system. But it's less common. I admit that is more widespread and more common in the US.
Amy, are there more questions from your class?
I think so. Cindy, did you have one? Okay, you come on up. And then I have another one if we have time.
Yes, let's do it.
Oh, hi, I'm Sydney. I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
So the first is, what is your favorite place to travel to in Germany? And then the second one is, I've heard of a rumored Christmas market. Could you describe that?
Oh yeah, sure. Maybe let me start. Thank you. Great question. So the Christmas markets you will find all over Germany at Christmas time. Christmas time starts with the start of Advent. Advent is like as you probably know, is the time leading up to Christmas Eve. The last 4 Sundays before Christmas Eve. So the tradition has it that we have we light up 4 candles. So first candle, first Sunday, and so on and so forth. And that's when all the Christmas markets sprout up in Germany, the largest being, I think, in Nuremberg, the Christkindl's market, which with the appearance of the Christkind, which is like a baby Jesus coming down from heaven and starting the Christmas market season with a lot of special bakery being presented, the Lebkuchen and other things. Then, of course, the Glühwein plays a role, which is warmed, spiced wine, mulled wine. And you have it from the north to the south, from Hamburg, Lübeck, especially in the medieval town centers. It looks very romantic. It's when it gets dark early in winter time, it's all lit up and illuminated, and many people come after work and for a glass of Glühwein and have a bite of whatever there is, and you can buy candles made of honey wax and other craft things, and that's a big tradition. It has a very cozy and warm feeling. For many Germans, it's part of their Christmas time, Christmas tradition, and the stands are always full. And I hope they'll after we finally get out of this darn pandemic, more and more Christmas markets will open up, and more people will be admitted, because it's really fun. There's music, live music there. They play Christmas songs and carols, and there's also sometimes theater groups. It's a very lively institution, Christmas market. My favorite place in Germany, of course, one is Hamburg. I already mentioned that. There's so much. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Baltic coast, which is really has sandy beaches, and it has allows for activities all year round, not only in summertime, to go swimming, to go kite surfing, windsurfing, and yeah, long walks along the coast. So I like that. I like that very much in the north. But also taking a stroll in the medieval cities in South and Southwestern Germany is very nice and very entertaining. Berlin, as I said, you have like every week you have new joints and new bars and places opening up in different parts of the city. It's constantly changing, and great museums we do have. So you see, I have difficulties in really pointing that out, but probably the north I would choose today.
Yeah. Great. Amy, one more quick question, and then we'll take one or two from Jody's class and then wrap it up.
So he kind of touched on it. It's about museums, but do you have a favorite museum or one you'd like to highlight?
I don't have a favorite museum, although I very much liked the historische, the History Museum in Berlin, which is in the center, in Mitte, as we say, the center of Berlin, which was built by the US American architect Pei, because history of certainly in this place, in this location, but also with regard to our past or more recent past, has played such an important role. So I think that's a very instructive and very interesting place. The Museum for Jewish History opened up 10 years ago, I think, in Berlin, which is really a place not only of instruction but remembrance. And then last not least, the famous museum island in the middle of the river that runs through Berlin, the Spree, which is also now protected under United Nations Heritage, UNESCO patrimony, which contains 3 old museums that were founded during the Prussian Kingdom, which show in one museum you have ancient artifacts like the world famous bust of the Egyptian princess or queen, rather, Nefertiti, and other archaeological treasures. So in the in a very small area of Berlin, you'll find like these 3-4 museums that I mentioned, and probably they are my favorite museums in Germany.
Great. Okay, Jody, your turn. One question more from your class. They're so excited.
Okay, I'm Caden. I have a question. So you're part Italian, and Italians invented the pizza. What's your opinion on pineapple on pizza?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Okay, and my answer is very clear and very short. Never put any pineapples on pizza. But don't do that. That is disgusting. Sorry to hurt anybody's feelings, but this is, I couldn't answer it differently as a half Italian. That's more the Hawaii version. I know many Germans like that too, and you can buy it as a deep frozen version as well, but I don't like it. I don't think it belongs to a pizza.
I think that is an amazing way to wrap up the question portion of it. This is what cultural exchange is all about. Chris, do you want to say any parting words?
Yeah, thanks for that last question. That is just the perfect question to really bring together all of these different parts of our world, and be it Italy, be it Germany, be it the United States, wherever you might be. It's great to have all of that come right here into our GeoQuest program across all of the classrooms in Montana. Consul General Schramm, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your world and the many parts of Germany. Now, I will remind students here that while the Consul General was speaking, I was putting in some links. And so if you're interested to see, for example, what Bayern Munich, the football team looks like, or the soccer team, as we say here, have a look. Maybe you want to know what Wiener Schnitzel looks like, or possibly you want to know, what does a hamburger in Hamburg look like? Check out the links, have a look. And that's also to say thanks to all of the teachers and the students who have come on today. We really appreciate you joining us. Kathleen and our colleagues at Inspired Classroom, another great session. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. Consul General, over to you for any last word.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun hour for me. Great questions that you came up, and if you have further questions, don't hesitate. Get in touch with our Consulate General. Whatever questions you have or whatever inquiries or curiosities, please don't be shy. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook. So please do get in touch, and I hope to see many of you when my dream of coming to Montana becomes reality, hopefully next year.
Very good. Well, we're going to help you make that a reality, Mr. Consul General. Thank you once again. Looking forward to seeing you here in Montana. Until then, thanks to everybody. Everybody be well. Take care. Bye-bye.